Imagine discovering that your family's story is wrapped in a riddle loud enough to shake Hollywood itself. Patty Duke glittered on screen as America's sweetheart. Yet storms batter her private life every single day. People loved the smiling teen from the Patty Duke Show and cheered when she grabbed an Oscar. But away from the cameras, she fought fierce mood swings and heartbreak that felt endless. Right at the center of that chaos lay a tiny baby boy, cherished deeply, yet surrounded by doubt from the minute he cried his first cry. The question that chased him for years was simple yet brutal. Who is your father? And no one could agree on the answer. 3 men hovered over the mystery. One was a young Hollywood heartthrob. One was a brand new husband Patty barely remembered. And one was a gentle soul who chose to raise a child as his own. A single DNA test would later drop a truth that stopped even the noisiest tabloids in their tracks. To feel the shock, you must first meet Patty Long, before that test rocked the headlines. She burst into show business at 8 and by 16 held an Academy Award for playing Helen Keller in The Miracle Worker, while other kids still sweated through math class. Each new role seemed to shoot fireworks across the sky as her name flashed bright on every marquee. The Patty Duke Show soon brought her into living rooms nationwide, letting her act as identical cousins who swapped charm like trading cards. Viewers saw fun and sparkle, but Patty's real life told a different story, one filled with strict managers who pulled her strings, grabbed her money, and even crossed personal lines no child should endure. As years rolled on, the hidden wounds split wider. Wild highs crashed into dark lows without warning, leaving friends puzzled and frightened. Decades later, doctors would finally name her condition bipolar disorder, and Patty turned that pain into a call for mental health action. Yet during the 60s, she spun alone with no map. Love followed the same dizzy path. Patty fell hard and fast, marrying or breaking up almost as quickly as a new headline hit the stands. During manic bursts, she sprinted into romance, but when her mood flipped to passion, often shattered like glass on pavement. Then came February 1971. Patty delivered a baby boy named Sean, and instead of peaceful joy, Hollywood gasped in shock, because even Patty could not swear who fathered her son. Timelines blurred, memories fogged, and 3 very different men waited in the wings, each one a possible dad. Reporters pounced and rumors howled louder than studio sirens. Yet beneath the scandal, Patty wrestled real confusion and fear. She honestly thought she was shielding her child by choosing one story, but doubts kept clawing at her mind and at Sean's heart. The mystery deepened as Sean Astin grew into a star, without knowing which man's blood ran through his veins. Born on February 25, 1971, Sean won hearts as Mikey in the Goonies, proving that some child actors rise instead of burning out. While many kids crashed under bright lights, he stood steady and kept climbing. Everything changed when he picked up a backpack in Middle-earth as Samwise Gamgee. Fans first watched Elijah Wood and Viggo Mortensen. Yet it was humble Sam who carried the soul of the Lord of the Rings, and audiences cheered Sean for it with tearful smiles. Fame never swallowed him. He skipped loud parties and messy headlines, focused on family, and even earned an Oscar nomination for directing the short film Kangaroo Court in 1995. Years later, he surprised viewers in Stranger Things, once again stealing scenes with quiet ease. Yet while his career soared, one question rattled like a loose bolt. Who is my real dad? Sean adored the man who raised him, but unanswered whispers pushed him toward the only tool that could silence doubt forever: science. To understand that choice, we must meet the 3 men who lived in Patty's tangled timeline. Michael Tell comes first because his link is the strangest. He worked in music promotion and was almost invisible to Hollywood spotlights. In 1970, he sublet Patty's apartment during one of her most fragile moments, and their fling was quick, messy, and nearly forgotten. Soon, Patty discovered she was pregnant. Afraid of cruel gossip, she rushed into a courthouse and married Tell in a panic ceremony with no gown, no guests, and no kiss for photographers. 13 days later, she scrubbed the marriage from record, swearing they had never even shared a marriage bed. For decades, she insisted Tell could not be Sean's father, and his name faded into silence until DNA dragged it back. Desi Arnaz Jr. was next in line and far more famous. Son of television royalty Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz, he dated Patty during a whirlwind romance that set cameras flashing nonstop. Age gaps and studio pressure tore them apart fast. Yet rumors stuck to him for years as a possible dad. Sean Astin, beloved for playing Gomez in the Addams Family, stepped into Patty's chaos with calm steadiness. He married her in 1972 and loved Sean as a biology had chosen him, giving the boy his famous last name and solid ground in a shaky world. For a long time, Patty believed John was the father, and so did Sean. Still, the whispers never quit, and by the early 90s, Sean decided he needed science instead of stories. He arranged a DNA test with Desi, the most likely match in his eyes, yet the results screamed no match. Stunned, Sean reached out to Michael Tell. The forgotten name Patty had always denied. Tell agreed to test, and the lab result hit like a thunderclap. It was a perfect match. The least likely man, married to Patty for only 13 frantic days, was in fact Sean's biological father. Patty faced that news with grace mixed with shock, admitting that DNA tells no lies even when memories do. Sean welcomed the truth with relief, honoring Sean Astin for years of love, while also embracing Michael Tell as kin. In the end, the boy born into swirling doubt solved the puzzle no reporter could crack, proving that identity can triumph over rumor when courage meets science. What happens when every version of your birth story feels right, yet also wrong at the same time? Desi Arnaz Jr. strolled into Patty Duke's orbit in 1968 like a comet blazing across a nervous sky. He was the bright-eyed son of television royalty Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz Sr., an heir to primetime fame. Fans swooned over his band Dino, Desi, and Billy. Posters covered bedroom walls, and directors begged him to act. Patty was in her early 20s, already an Oscar winner, but she was fragile after years of silent battles with her own mind. Desi was still a teenager, living under the protective glare of two of the most famous parents in the world. The moment word of their romance leaked, newspapers erupted with outrage. Reporters hissed about the 6-year gap, ignoring the fact that both lovers were adults by law yet blinded by the startling divide in life experience. Insiders whispered that Lucille Ball flew into a fury when she discovered her son was tangled up with a woman who flipped from charming to shattered in a single afternoon. Lucy, who had broken glass ceilings for women in comedy, tried to slam the brakes on the courtship before more damage could form. Patty did not see chaos. She saw destiny. She clung to Desi like a lifeline and later told her newborn baby that this brilliant young man was a father who had passed on the famous redhead genes. For little Sean, that story felt magical. Imagine thinking Grandma is Lucy from I Love Lucy, and Grandpa is her iconic co-star. Desi never confirmed nor denied. He slipped behind a curtain of careful silence, touring with his music and acting in small films, while rumors painted him as the secret dad of Patty Duke's child. The gossip became background noise that everyone heard, yet no one shut off. As Sean toddled under studio lights, another plot twist arrived when Patty married Sean Astin, best known for grinning through every scene as Gomez in the Addams Family. John's energy was calming, his humor gentle, and his love deep. He not only accepted Patty's little boy, he embraced him so fully that he filed papers and turned the child into Sean Astin. Inside their home, board games replaced screaming matches, and bedtime songs took the place of flashing cameras. Patty, John, Sean, and later baby Mackenzie made pancakes, walked dogs, and believed the ugly headlines were finally behind them. Sean grew tall, polite, and even careful with his own emotions. Yet the question of paternity hovered above every birthday candle he blew out. He admired John, thanked Desi for inspiration, and adored Patty, but he wanted proof he could hold in his hand. The tipping point arrived in the late 80s when Sean bumped into a cousin of Michael Tell during a charity event. Michael Tell was hardly a household name. He wrote music columns, booked small rock shows, and once sublet Patty's apartment. In 1970, during a manic frenzy, she had married him in a tiny courthouse. No organ music, no photographer, no wedding cake. 13 days later, the marriage was wiped away as quickly as chalk on a sidewalk. The cousin laughed, then looked at Sean twice and said the family saw a resemblance. The comment echoed for months until Sean decided that wondering hurt more than knowing. The only weapon against doubt was a DNA test, and he would wield it. First, he called Sean Astin, the man who had tied shoes, fixed wobbly bikes, and whispered advice when Sean landed his early acting gigs. Sean worried the request might sting. Yet John answered with a kind laugh and told him go for it, because truth never damages real love. Next, he penned a letter to Desi Arnaz Jr., who had pulled back from constant media but still carried charm. Desi agreed at once, saying honesty protects everyone even when it hurts. Last came Michael Tell. Sean barely knew this man who vanished before his first birthday. Tracking him took weeks. But when they finally talked, Michael startled Sean by welcoming the test without hesitation. Samples were collected, labeled, and shipped off to a lab. Sean counted the days like prisoners mark walls. Sleep came in bursts, appetite dimmed, and every phone ring made his heart hammer. He imagined 3 possible futures, each with its own joys and sorrows. When the envelope finally landed on his kitchen table, he stared at it for an hour. The world was quiet, as if history itself was holding its breath. He peeled back the flap, unfolded the page, and the name Michael Tell jumped out in bold letters. Static filled his ears, then calm swept over him like warm rain. The mystery that trailed him for decades was gone. Later he told People magazine, "If you want to know who I am, Sean Astin is my father and Michael Tell is my biological father." Those words balanced science with heart in a single sentence. John hugged him tight and said nothing needed to change. Desi sent a warm note of support, relieved that the guessing game was done. Patty, already speaking openly about mental health by then, burst into tears of relief. Glad her boy finally had solid ground. Sean chose action over shock. He called Michael again and asked to meet. They picked a quiet cafe away from paparazzi glare. No cameras flashed, no voices rose. 2 men, once strangers, talked for hours about music, movies, and childhood dreams. Michael confessed that he had followed Sean's career from a distance, yet never wanted to intrude. Sean thanked him for stepping forward now, and the handshake they shared felt like weaving 2 halves of the same thread. Neither tried to rewrite the years that were gone, because love looks forward. Over time, Sean visited Michael's home, met distant cousins, and saw family photos line up on a wooden shelf. He noticed a tilt of the head that looked like his own and a laugh that matched his. Pieces slid together until the picture felt whole. Sean also kept his bond with John untouched. The man who taught him to catch a baseball remained his dad, mentor, and loyal friend. On holidays, Michael sometimes sent a thoughtful message while Sean and John cooked dinner, proving that hearts can make room for more than one father. Interviews after the discovery showed Sean glowing with peace. He explained that every person in his story acted from the place they stood at the time, and blame had no seat at his table. He said, "I have a good relationship with Mike. That's who I am. I don't fault anybody. I don't fault myself or Desi, who is like my godfather. I have such a powerful love bond with this man. He's a gorgeous human being." Michael remained humble, never chasing fame through surprise connection. He let Sean share as much or as little as he wished, proving that grace can shine brighter than spotlights. The final lesson in Sean's journey shouted louder than any headline. Biology writes the first line of a story, but it is loyalty, patience, and steady care that fill the chapters. With every secret laid bare, Sean walked forward with confidence, knowing exactly who he is and who he loves. Truth can hit like an earthquake, yet sometimes it builds a brand new home in your heart. Learning that Michael Tell was his biological father shook Sean Astin, but it never cracked the love he held for John Astin or Patty Duke. Instead, it filled a missing space he had carried since childhood and made his inner picture finally feel complete. In every interview, Sean now says, "I have 3 dads. 1 gave him DNA, 2 raised him, and all 3 shaped his spirit." That big heart view amazes reporters because it shows acceptance, not anger, and keeps him grounded even in the glare of Hollywood lights. He let the scandal inform him, not define him. For Patty Duke, the lab result was more than a family update. It forced her to stare straight into memories she had tried to lock away. Years of untreated bipolar disorder, frantic romances, and career pressure had blurred those days so badly that even Patty could not trust her own mind. She admitted her past was dotted with impulse, fear, and people who steered her for their own gain. Pregnant in 1970, Patty honestly did not know who the father was, so she chose a story and clung to it like a life raft. That story named Sean Astin as dad, and for decades she treated the matter as closed. When Sean's test revealed Michael Tell instead, Patty stunned reporters by refusing to accept the paper proof. She declared, "I don't buy that test. I know what I know to be true." Patty even joked that she would only rethink things if heaven itself corrected her. Friends saw her stance not as stubborn pride, but as a symptom of the confusion that haunted her since youth. The miracle was Sean's response. He met her doubt with calm. He never lashed out. He never blamed. He understood that his mother had walked through storms most people will never face and still fought every day to protect her kids. Their bond, already strong, grew even tighter because honesty finally replaced mystery. Sean later said, "It wasn't always pretty, but we were all in the storm together." After Patty passed away in 2016, he launched the Patty Duke Mental Health Initiative to honor the warrior who raised him and to help others battling the same invisible foes. That courage carried over to Sean's vision of fatherhood. By the time the world learned his full backstory, Sean had already sorted his feelings. Biology matters, but love and steady action matter just as much. Sean Astin was a man who tucked him in, coached school projects, and gently corrected teenage mistakes. Sean calls him dad without hesitation and once said, "I want to honor the person who gave his time, energy, and love." Desi Arnaz Jr. never became a daily presence. Yet Sean speaks of him with respect, knowing the chaos of 1970s fame trapped Desi in rumors he never asked for. When Michael Tell stepped forward, Sean welcomed him with quiet grace. The two now share easy conversations, no drama, no spotlight, just a late but lasting link. Sean's lesson is clear. Family is not a neat chart. It is connection, choice, and the bravery to accept every twist in your own story. So, did Sean make the right call by taking that DNA test? Tell us your thoughts in the comments. Hit like, share the story, and subscribe for more untold Hollywood truths.